Hi there, I'm Tom Field. I'm Senior Vice President of Editorial with Information Security Media Group. Topic of conversation is discovering and securing large language models. It's my pleasure to welcome to the virtual studio here, Ravi Ithal. He is the co-founder and CTO of Normalyze. That's just not a virtual studio, it's an actual studio. I'm glad to have you here in person, Ravi. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
So I understand you recently pointed out that Fortune 2000 companies have an average of 500 custom applications. And of course, many of these apps are enhanced now with generative AI tools. Give us a sense, one, the state of Gen AI, and of course, with that, large language models.
Yeah. So this study, actually, the 500 applications in an average Fortune 500 enterprise, Fortune 2000 actually, that study was made by CSA about 3-4 years ago. So I bet the number has increased even more today, right?
It's probably a conservative number.
It is a conservative number, yes. So that amounts to about 1 million apps, million custom applications, which the general public doesn't see. You go into your work and you start using these applications, and some of these are not even visible to all the employees. So what happens is, all these things are developed by developers who are really crazy about Gen AI, the latest trend, that is the Gen AI. So every one of them, I bet, is looking to sprinkle some AI magic into these apps. So what we are seeing among our customers, mostly large enterprises, is there is not a lot of custom LLMs that are being built, but mostly off-the-shelf LLMs that are offered by cloud service providers like AWS, Azure, and GCP. They're being used. However, in order to customize the experience, people start using repositories of data that are used for augmenting the retrieval. That's typically what we're seeing. And on the consumer plus general public usage, it's mostly the likes of ChatGPT and various copilots, right? Microsoft Copilot, GitHub Copilot, and so on.
Well, even in commercial use. And of course, there's a lot of hype about LLMs. You can't go anywhere without hearing about them. But maybe less about the security and privacy concerns. What are the issues that are top of mind for you?
Yeah, everybody is excited about the efficiencies and improvements and the getting the time back from doing our work, and because AI can do the stuff for us. So everybody's excited about it. As with any other new technology, people get excited about what's possible, all the positive things that we get, and less about what we need to keep them secure. Just like the nuclear bomb, right? So you think about what the nuclear bomb can achieve, peace, and less about proliferation. Similarly, the cloud came about, and it was so much more efficient to just use the cloud instead of data centers, where people forgot about how easier it became for attackers to go and get the enterprise data. So the security always comes later. But however, luckily, in my experience, the attention to security for AI has gained traction earlier than previous increments in technology. So people are talking about privacy and security, not as much as they should though, and there's no silver bullet yet. And typically what happens is, when it comes to security of LLMs or security of Gen AI apps, the biggest concern, especially for enterprises, is the confidentiality and privacy of data that these LLMs are seeing.
Now, I hear consistently from CISOs about shadow AI, and that it's far worse than shadow IT ever was, because people have got access to it. It's not like building a nuclear bomb. Anybody can go on ChatGPT or work with an LLM. So what should security teams be doing to, one, discover LLMs in their environment and then secure them?
Yeah, so if you look at 90%, 99%, in fact, I was just at a talk in which we were talking about this. People are afraid to find out what they might whatever they have in their closets, right? So the fear of finding out is typically more than fear of missing out on the fixes, right? So that's where we are. So what we advise our clients is always go first do an inventory of who is using what sort of AI applications. So it could be your developers who are using LLMs on AWS and Azure and GCP, or it could be your users who are taking your corporate documents and then dropping it into ChatGPT to do some analysis. Hey, here is my forecast for next month on this spreadsheet. Give me some other report, right? Mm-hmm. So these are all nightmare scenarios for security professionals. Number one, you might take trade secrets and customer data and employee data and feed it to LLMs and make it easy for everybody else who's using that application to access it. Secondly, you might take the corporate data, upload it to a third party, at which point you have no control over what happens to that data. So these are the typical challenges that we are seeing. So number one is to discover all these shadow AIs, and then number two is think about how to protect it.
What are the types of tools that you recommend for protecting these LLMs?
So my company, Normalyze, develops tools for this as well. We have a bunch of features in our DSPM, Data Security Posture Management product that enables customers to just connect to their cloud accounts and discover all the instances of Bedrock and Vertex and OpenAI and figure out what sort of LLMs they're using and what data stores they're connected to, and sort of get this lineage of how the data is flowing from your internal repositories to your LLMs, then to your users, right? So that's number one. That's what I would recommend everybody to start using. You could use an inventory based on your AWS or Azure subscription billing. You can go and say, hey, how much am I getting charged for this service or this AI service, and then go and chase those people. Right. But using a tool like Normalyze is a cheat code. It's much easier to do it.
That's how organizations define about their cloud exposure, right?
That's right.
Look at the expenses.
Yeah. That's right.
Talk more about Normalyze in your solution, how you're helping your clients, one, understand the challenge, and two, respond to it.
Yeah. So like I said, discovery is the number one task for everyone. Once you discover that, you will understand what type of data stores are being used, or what data stores are actually being used for what LLMs and what applications. And then the next question is, what sort of data is there? Typically what happens is you have millions of documents in an S3 bucket or an RDS or any other data store, and the users are not going to hand curate all of these and then say, hey, here is a sensitive data, a piece of sensitive data in this document, so I exclude this. Here is some other data that's relevant to this application, so include it. That's kind of the appeal of the LLMs. You can just throw a bunch of data and let it analyze and give you the answer. Let it do the work, right? Otherwise, why even bother filtering all of these things? And the flip side of that is they could be anything, and the user of the LLM app can go and ask a question that says, hey, give me all the documents that have my name in it. And I'll tell you a real life example. One of our clients, they were piloting one of these LLM apps, and somebody actually asked that specific question. Give me all the documents you have that has my name. And lo and behold, there was an Excel sheet that was a title layoff list, right? And the person's name was there. And
I hope that was an AI hallucination.
that is probably that's how you repudiate yourself from that. But yeah, it wasn't, unfortunately. It was real HR data. Typically what happens is you want to control the access to the information. And if you're building applications that are deterministic, you have a lot more control over, hey, this data should not even go here. This data should not go into this database. And then you have better control over it. But when it comes to AI, it's there, and it's there for users to discover these documents and information. So that is the one that makes it hard. So we help customers discover what type of data is where, what applications are using it, who should access, who is accessing it, and not just in AI, but in all the other systems as well.
So it's a huge challenge. You said a few minutes ago there are a lot of organizations that are scared of the answers they're going to find. Where do you start to tackle this problem?
So I would say it's 3 steps, right? So you can basically go tackle the accounts and the subscriptions where you have your most sensitive data. You kind of have a sense of where most of my production data is. You go start there, Discovery is number 1. Number 2, start protecting the data layer. What you can do is you can start labeling and tagging these data stores, and then you can have access controls as to who can access this, including AI applications. Given certain tags, you can access. Given certain tags, you cannot access, and so on. So that's the data layer protection. The ultimate challenge, which is the challenge for most of us data security professionals and vendors, is whenever you're fighting an attack on a layer in the networking, like, whether it's link layer, routing, transport, and presentation documents, you have to come up with solutions that correspond to that layer. So we are at the semantic layer right now. So AI is able to do somewhat of things that are somewhat similar to what humans would do, but there's no, separate technology that can actually protect you from it. So you have to use AI to fight this AI. So semantic layer protection is the final frontier, I would say.
Well said. Ravi, appreciate your time, appreciate your insight. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for having me. It was nice talking to you.
Discussion has been about discovering and securing LLMs. Just heard from Ravi Ithal. He's the CTO and co-founder of Normalyze. For Information Security Media Group, I'm Tom Field. Thanks so much for giving us your time and attention today.